This is Smile Business Diaries, a DSD podcast. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Smile Business Diaries. I am so thrilled to bring you this honest, big-hearted, and energizing talk with my guest, Dr. Karla Soto. She talks about what happens when things don't always go as planned, what are on her non-negotiables, and what inspires her every day. Here we go. Dr. Karla Soto is a leading advocate for digital dentistry, emphasizing comprehensive treatment planning and emotional patient connection. With a global presence, she shares her expertise through presentations and leadership roles in various dental organizations. Dr. Soto is recognized for her clinical excellence, winning awards such as the DSD Speaker of the Year and the Straumann Purpose Award. She co-founded Smile Again, a nonprofit providing smile makeovers to domestic violence survivors, and actively participates in marketing campaigns, representing brands like Invisalign. A dedicated leader, Dr. Soto is involved in numerous continuing education programs and launched an educational platform called Key Elements. She practices cosmetic, implant, and general dentistry in Boca Raton, Florida, after graduating from the University of Maryland School of Dentistry and completing a GPR at the Baltimore VA. Welcome, Dr. Karla Soto.
Thank you so much, Aria. Thank you so much for having me. It's exciting.
Absolutely. I feel like you're this superstar guest, and we have so much to learn from you. So I'm super excited to get into it.
It's so interesting because every time I hear you speak, I'm like, that's what I feel like. I am in the presence of like someone that knows their stuff and confidence. By the way, your feedback from your presentations, Key Elements are like, NPS 100%. Like, so congratulations. It's my honor to be in your presence.
Oh goodness. Well, thank you. But I think you're one of the pilots in this of surrounding yourself with good people, right? And I feel the same way. As we have such a good circle, and I appreciate you having DSD and myself in your Key Elements group and everything you're doing. Really, I know we've grown together over the years. So, share with the audience, what is your story in a nutshell? Where did you start? What was the transition like? And, where are you now and how's it going?
How long do you have? So, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start. And that's like a million questions in one. But I think, when people tell me, what's your story? I always freeze, because I don't know from what perspective to talk about it. It's so interesting. JJ, when he met me, and again, I met JJ in 2017, early 2018, and just like general dentist, doing some dentistry the way that I knew how to do, and always loving it, passionate about it. And if you know JJ, he hates getting out of Miami. In Florida, like Miami, like he's like little 5 blocks, that's where he loves to be. And someone at DSD made him come visit me in Boca, which is about an hour drive. And like that story has like many legs, but I had like a 15-minute thing. I was like, I'll just take you to Panera. He had never been to Panera in his entire life. And this is like a joke of how we met. But long story short, we sit and he's like, so what's your story? Why am I here? Literally. That's what JJ did to me. And I also didn't know what to say. And every time someone tells me that, I don't know what to say. What I can tell you about my story is, it's someone that sees the magic in, creating things and relationships and people and the power of just always pushing and seeing what happens at the other end. So my journey has to do with always, trying to create something, or always pushing the limit, or, and I think the almost in the whole Cinderella story would be like, being surrounded, and you talked about the circle, being surrounded by people that saw you, or that would see something in you before you saw yourself. And that's what happened. That's literally, no exaggeration, what happened to me, because I felt, after DSD, it was almost like a renaissance in my mind, like just exploded. And then but it was way more than that. It was like, Christian, I really felt somehow, and I don't know how, I almost felt like handpicked, and he took me under his wing, and he really believed in some of the things that he was seeing, which I had not seen or believed at all. So when the Speaker Award happened, the DSD Speaker of the Year Award happened, that's what I said. I mean, I thanked him for believing in me before I even believed in myself for what I could do. I mean, I was kind of emotional at that moment, because on the awards, like, I was like against like Miguel Stanley, Kenji Oji, like these like gods, right? So like how to even be at that same league, which I'm not, I still don't think I am, but it's just really, really cool. So the journey is one of, being passionate about creating, about caring about people, and then, surrounding yourself with, opening the doors, just go in and open that door and see what's on that other side.
Absolutely. And, your story's super interesting because you even said it, you traditional, regular dentist, right? Nothing that you thought was going to explode into what it is today. But taking you back to that moment, did you ever feel like, I'm going to do CEs, I'm doing the same things everyone else is doing, but for me, I'm going to be on that stage one day, or I'm going to be on the freaking billboard of the conventions that everyone's going to? Those are huge, bragging rights. How did you feel back then? And, did it ever occur to you that this was possible?
It's so surreal. I mean, we're in 2024, so I'm well within like sort of 6 years of it. Like, once it started, kind of like kept going, but it is very surreal. I still get like a call or an opportunity or something kind of like outside the box, and I'll still like get goosebumps. I'm like, I can't believe that I get to do this. I can't, like, I'm like, I mean, so many like even things that are happening now that are coming, that have happened this year and that are coming this year. It's very surreal. So what did it feel back then? I think that the one moment where it was really like, woof, like something is happening, was so traditional dentistry. I take DSD and I jump into digital, literally with it. Like, I'm all in. And I know that is, when you go to a DSD course and you take what used to be the DSD residency, it's very overwhelming. So I remember leaving and like, this is what I'm doing, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to do this. And then, very quickly on, I started like doing a little bit more, but I never lectured in my life. So I was doing the dentistry, and very quickly on, like, I got the opportunity to talk about and share that. And I remember still very, very clearly how the first, second, or maybe even 10th time that I had to present, I don't remember what came out of my mouth. I don't remember the words that came out of my mouth. I remember my first DSC, like within months of taking my residency, I came back. Christian invites people that are implementing to see how DSC have impacted their practice, and I don't remember what I said. So it's still very surreal. Like, now the bigger things happening, right? But I think that what was always true is that I was just genuinely excited about it, and I was determined to do it. So that was a mindset thing. I would have never, I still tell my husband, I still tell Alpha, I can't, I would have, if you tell me this was going to be my life. Like, when you're in college and you're like, you're trying to start your life out, and maybe you're dating or someone, like, I was like, because he's always been such like a super confident, which is, one of the really attractive things. I love confidence without ego. I just think that's like so key. So I would be like, did you know you were going to have like the career, the wife, the family, the house, the car? Like, did you know? Not that the other things matter, but it's just like this package of things that I would have never thought. So no, it's very surreal. I still pinch myself. Things I actually almost thought it would have been way done by now. I'm like, that's just like a thing. 2 years, like, like the image of the girl, and that's it. But when it really hit me, okay, maybe something big may be happening, so I was invited to do a live patient in New York, or at the Greater New York. They have like a live, stage, and then you're treating patients. I was invited to go do live dentistry, and Christian was, so we were co-presenting, which just even that was already like, I've made it in life. I had already presented with him before, not, but this was like clinical, right? Live, like
On
sure,
stage,
like,
right.
like on stage. And, like, okay, that's still kind of a big deal. But the day before we were walking into rehearse, and I was walking with Christian, and I'm walking into the Javits, which is like, of course, it's huge, like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like a conference center, but it's like, the talk about the glass ceiling and all of that. And there is this like massive, massive, huge poster. I mean, like probably like 2 stories high. I don't even know. Like, and I'm in it.
Yes.
And it was not just the fact that was there, but it was Chris, and it's like, that's you. My hero saw it before I saw it. It was just like a full on. That's when I was like, maybe something is happening. So yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I think everyone saw it. I don't think you can't not see it. It's like Karla's there as soon as you walk in.
But that picture, by the way, I absolutely hate that picture, and it's still being used. But it doesn't.
I mean, I personally have pictures because they even had a copy of it on a wall that you could stand next to it. I'm like taking selfies next to you on the so no, that picture's everywhere.
It's a little bit embarrassing, but I've learned to just roll with it, like
yes.
My friends always like, they'll send me pictures like, either kissing like a poster, like, so it's just always fun. Yeah.
You're everywhere now. Hello, I'm just taking a quick break from this podcast interview to tell you how you can get started with DSD. If there was anything that our guest has mentioned that strikes a chord with you, or you are curious about becoming a DSD clinic, I encourage you to book a call with me. This is a 30-minute, no-obligation information sharing session in which I can answer your questions about DSD and discuss your options based on your unique circumstances. The link to schedule a call with me can be found in the notes on this episode. Now, back to the interview. It's amazing. I mean, now that you're there and, you're obviously practicing at the same time, and I think that's something listeners need to know about you, is that you're not just, talking the talk, you're walking the walk at the same time, synchronously, doing it. Can you tell us about your day-to-day? How is it managing all these different components that you're into right now?
It's definitely a roller coaster. So, and talking the talk without walking the walk, I know that there's a lot of people that are just on stage, right? And it's not just on stage, because it's an incredibly like time consuming and lots of sacrifices that happen for whoever goes on stage. But I feel that it feeds each other, right? Like me being able to practice and being in the day to day and being able to like keep trying things and keep creating, then feeds that, being able to share that. And then being on stage, being a clinician as well, it gives that relatability too, of like, that person's going through my same pain and tribulations of like being a practice owner or like HR, or like all of the things that come with it. So my day-to-day has definitely changed. I mean, I went on a streak of like, for 10 weeks, I was gone from home for 10 weekends out of 12. So it definitely is, and practice, and still practicing, right? So like, it's not like when I'm home, like, okay, so I'm chilling. When I'm home, I'm actually in my true job, which is my practice and my patients, which is always a priority. So it's changed in a way, and it hasn't changed in a way. It's definitely a roller coaster, but I think that it depends on how you're looking at it. Like, how has it changed after I became like this, digital mindset clinician? That's a change. And I think now it's still a roller coaster, because no matter how much you learn, it's almost even harder, because you're learning so much and you want to implement so much, and your team's like, can we, like, this is working? Can we like try for a month? Can we, like, please let us do this for like a quarter?
Right.
So it's this roller coaster of things, because no matter how much you learn, and the knowledge and the systems and the training and the workflows and all of that, no matter what, you're still treating people, right? So that's where it hasn't changed. You're still taking care of people. And if you care about people deeply and you're really passionate about the results, you will still go through those motions, and but it's now more meaningful and more fulfilling because I get to do it with more predictability. But it doesn't change because the true or the core of it is just taking care of people. And the difficulties of that will never change, right? Because we're taking care of it. So even a simple case can be difficult if it's a difficult, psychologically or like emotionally difficult situation. So the way I practice now, I think it's just become more predictable. Most importantly, more confidence, because it's not just my knowledge in my hands, but I have all of these resources like behind me, and that helps me with the confidence on presenting, or the confidence of what I think. It's not just the training COIS and SPEAR and comprehensive dentistry and DSD and all of that, but also the day-to-day when I'm designing a case, when I'm planning a case, when I'm brainstorming a case, with the planning center. So I think it's changed like that, but I think what it's changed the most is that sense of purpose, almost that sense of purpose, not just to me and being intentional about things, but for the team. I think that's the biggest change on how I practice now, because it's team, the team, and being able to surround yourself with not only the people that this whole thing about you are the average of like the 10 closest people that you're around you or something like that, but it goes to like, sure, your circle, your colleagues and your family are influential people in your life, but the surrounding yourself with the team. So the way that it's changed in the practice significantly with intention is that I think the team is not just someone that's clocking in and out. It's someone that's a lot more empowered and proud of what we're doing. It's a little bit more meaningful, instead of just like suctioning, cleaning up chairs, right, making appointments, doing fillings. I mean, I'm not judging that. I'm a general dentist that does a lot of general dentistry. But there is something with the emotions of that just becomes like, that's why dentists burn out all the time, because the emotions of the regular stuff.
Right.
And I mean, and it can be as simple as the way a patient talks to you every other day, and they may not mean to, and they're just saying it to you once, but you're getting it all the time. So you can really get physically and mentally burned out by those motions. So the way that it's changed is the team understands a little bit more the purpose and the intention, and we focus on that magic and on the nice, big, fulfilling, life-changing things that we do, because I know it's cheesy, but we literally change lives. I mean, I have it in writing, I have it in cards, I have it in reviews, I have it in videos, in tears. We change lives. So even if those are not like an everyday thing, when they do happen, it's that, resetting of like, okay, this is what we're doing this. You have to go through all the pains and all the growing pains of the regular stuff, but this is why we're doing this here today.
Amazing. So what would you say was the special sauce of making that happen? Because I hear from a lot of doctors, oh, hey, it's hard to get my team on board. It's hard to get them to understand. If you could list off, the exact items that really made a difference, what would that be?
The exact items, Maria. Even if I asked you that question, right, that would be such a difficult. I don't have a list.
What are the things that come to mind? There has to be something that you're like, without this, it wouldn't have happened.
Well, for sure, without digital and yes, the philosophy of DSD, seeing the possibilities before they become, it's the ability to communicate, right? And you could have all these resources. That's why it's so hard to pinpoint, because you could have all these resources and you can be an awful communicator, and you could have it all. Whatever technology, whatever visuals, whatever, all the DSD mock-up everybody, but it wouldn't make a difference. So that special sauce is that combination of maximizing all of the incredible resources with the emotional component and with the communication component of the human to human interaction. So I don't think there's a special sauce for that. And I do think that at the end of the day, everybody has their own take and their own philosophy. And some people are incredible communicators, but they're awful at, organizing a sequence or a workflow. And that's when, maybe you're really good with patients, and maybe like you can maximize with DSD, with Align, like all the digital platform and everything that's available there, with so many things out there that we can use. But if you are an average communicator and then you have all of these resources, forget it. You can't conquer anything, right? And then let's not forget that you have to back it up with clinical skills, right? Like, sure, you can be a great communicator, sure, you can have all that, but if you don't really, you cannot deliver on your promise, you are going to be okay maybe for a year, then you're going to be so
right. Exactly.
Because that's kind of it. But I don't think the secret sauce is just like do the work, like it's not going to be handed to you. Care. I think even with communication comes like accepting when you made a mistake or when something's right. It's not like, oh, I made a mistake, but owning up to it and making up for it. I think that comes a long way. There's nothing wrong with, it's a practice of dentistry, and sometimes things that work in 90% of people, it may not work in 1%, and I think the ultimate secret sauce is the most difficult one, which is really surrounding yourself with a team that believes that vision, that empowers you to continue with that vision, or inspires you to keep working hard, because it's hard work. It's an everyday work, that culture. And, but having like good vibes, even in a tough day. I had a really tough day yesterday. I had a full arch. You see, the way that I teach and what I teach is because of predictability and practical in real life dentistry, real life practice. We see so many people on stage, like showing in absolutely incredible cases that took 5 years to do, because, like, you know what I mean? Like, I have real people that come to me wanting results, and they don't want them in 5 years, because if that's the case, they likely won't do it. So I have a very real patient population. It's not like a specific, so I think the hardest thing sometimes is, when you're not able to have the vibe and the energy towards that. And I had a really tough day, because even though I focus on predictability and I deliver, once I've gone through my workflows, once I've over communicated the results, I've done my provisionals, I've done the DSD design, I've done all of that. By the time I'm delivering, I deliver. But yesterday I had a full arch that I didn't deliver, and I had a sign that didn't fit. And it was like, I was like, what is going on? And it's almost one of those almost nice reminders of like, you've been spoiled with, you've been spoiled with having those good resources, the knowledge and the combination of the team and everything coming together, that because it's common that maybe a full set of veneers, I'm not saying it's common, but it happens often, or at least that's what people will tell me, that, they couldn't deliver the case, and the patient was this, and the patient was this corner here, and the one length here. But I'm like, I don't even bring the patients back with provisionals, because I've over communicated and I've done so much ahead of time that it's like the day of provisionals, I don't see the patient again until I deliver.
Right.
So it hit me hard that I've been almost spoiled with all of that predictability that digital and working with, like, the best in the industry brings, because it just didn't work. It didn't work yesterday.
One time, right?
It's just so frustrating, and it makes you realize how most people are practicing and why it's so frustrating. And it's almost like a trial and error, but on the patient, and physically on the patient. And that's kind of like, what digital and the predictability of designing with people that know what they're doing. That's what it brings to the plate. So it's success being not just the fact that you're doing the case, it's just how are you doing the case, with what comfort are you doing the case,
right? And that's a good point to make, is the digital technologies that have had such a tremendous effect in your success, and now you're, and it's interesting to me because I've seen you grow with Key Elements and everything, which is positioned to help those like yourself in the beginning, because you lived it, you did it, right? You came from a place of, again, traditional dentistry into digital. And when you came along, and I tell everybody, I use this example a lot when I'm talking to those interested in DSD, is, people like Karla Soto, she didn't have all the systems in place like we do now. And I know that this was not easy for you to implement all the digital technologies that Christian and everyone out there at the time was talking about, what, 5-ish years ago, 10, maybe 10 at this point. But it was a different time, right? It was a lot harder to understand, and not just DSD's technologies, but Invisaligns and everything else that's out there. So can you explain, what is Key Elements? How are you connecting the dots and your journey in that, how it came about?
Yeah, so Key Elements was actually born as my own frustration of wanting to implement something. And then once I started lecturing, the hunger is out there. If you're listening, I know that you're hungry to practice in a way that makes your life easier and more fulfilling. So it was, it's not right now. You guys have done such an amazing job with implementation and providing resources. But back then, in my DSD residency, it was literally Christian and JJ. There were 2 people. Now it's like, like an army, like an army of you guys. So at least at the events, I know that there was more behind the scenes, but it was, literally, I was so into it. I was like, why don't you guys have like an implementation kit or like a tool? And I was like, I'm gonna make, and I wasn't even lecturing. I was not a lecturer, at all. And I was like, well, maybe I can talk to Christian and we can do have something. And then I was like, if we could call it DSD Light, which then became Light Dentist, which then became something else. But in my head, it was like DSD Light, and it's like just like a package with like a ring light, a black backdrop, I was trying to what is it that I've needed? Because when I implemented it, I was not the owner of my practice. It was I bought my own iTero from my own pocket. That's how I was like, I am doing this. So the implementation back then was very difficult. And implementation, to be completely honest, is still difficult.
Yes.
I think it has to do with mindsets. I had my mind set, no pun intended. I had it. And I think once you conquer that and why you want to do it, then you can do the rest. But it's still a bit of an uphill and it's still intimidating. So then I started somehow, I started speaking and lecturing, and Christian was inviting me to the residencies, and then people were coming to me and asking for help. And, I want to do what you do. I want to do it how you're doing, especially because I'm I need practice, 3 operatories. I wasn't the owner. I was not in power of making these decisions, and I still made it happen. Back then, I did every single step of the DSD patient journey myself. And it was fun. To the point where my daughters were literally helping me submit cases to DSD. I'm like, I'm doing this. But it was fun, but it's overwhelming because it's a lot, and you still have to do the clinical dentistry. So a year went by, and then Brendan, now CEO, then I don't think he was even officially part of DSD. It was like a partnership or something like that. And he's he gave me this idea of you should really think about having something to connect. People are connecting with you, think about it. And then he gave me some ideas, and truthfully, Brendan's mind is so ahead of its time. I had no clue how to implement something like that. And the idea started, and Marita was involved too. I was asking because she's her mind is amazing too. But I didn't do anything with it. I just started recording some stuff, and I never did anything with it. So the reason why Key Elements finally was, came to the world was of course I was lecturing more, the demand was more, and I was really getting overwhelmed with people asking me to help. And it's in my nature to want to help, but I couldn't justify. I wasn't even spending enough time with family or with things that are priorities in my life. So then I decided, why don't I have this, one place where I can deposit all of everything that I've learned, how to videos, tutorials, 24/7, like, Discord, which is like chats for like people that want to help, and a community. And then we get to meet in person. So it's this like, I created what I thought I would have needed when I wanted to implement, comprehensive digital dentistry.
Yeah.
And back then, DSD didn't have the online, way of doing the, there was no on-demand stuff. So of course you guys developed your own stuff that people can implement too. But the difference with Key Elements is that it's of course a small community. And then there's this sense of, DSD can definitely be, I remember when I would see like what people with DSD clinics were, and I was like, wow, like that's just not for me though. It's amazing and one day, but that's not for me now. So I feel that, people seeing me with a regular practice, the fact that I was able to become a DSD clinic and to do all the things that I'm doing, I think that's a little bit feels more like homey, like a more relatable. And I think that's why, people gravitate towards it. And truthfully, there's so much DNA of DSD DNA and Key Elements. But it's also that, fun too. Let's have fun. And that's definitely something that I learned from like at the million DSD events that I absolutely love to be at, because the energy is always amazing. So the cool thing is like we've been meeting virtually, and then we get together, and this energy of like, of course we prepare like fun stuff and interactive and engaging stuff, but also with people that are friends already, and then they're seeing each other for the first time in person, and then we get to do like practice everything hands-on that we've been talking about for months. So it's just this really, like, to me it was a combination of like all of my favorite continuing education that I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars like trying to curate it in this little package for people. So that's the long story of why Key Elements came. And it came from, what I thought I wanted it or would have needed at that moment to be able to jump in to the
Yes.
DSD.
Well, I've had the honor of being at 2 of your events now, and I can personally speak on it that it's truly brilliant, first of all, to have created it, but it's so amazing to have a source for knowing how to connect all the pieces together, because you learn, just like anything else, right? You learn one thing at a time, but nobody talks about how do we learn with all of it at once, all together, simultaneously, and making it happen. And Key Elements does the job. No matter what the technology is, no matter what your workflow is, you cover it. And I want to say thank you, because then it alleviates my pressures of trying to teach people. Like, thank you, Karla.
Welcome, Maria. You're very welcome. I mean, it's, it's, and here's the thing. And I think, if you guys know how much I think of you like daily for a multitude of reasons, but I think of Christian a lot because, I remember going to DSD residencies back to back, and I was like, oh, that's different. Like, yeah, the concept is a concept, but like, oh, that's new. And then, and that's before I was like full on educator like I am. That's like truthfully like half my life now. And then the beauty and curse that I have with Key Elements is that it's technology. So workflows and innovation and the technology keeps changing. And every single time I need to change things up to introduce the new workflow, the new technology, the new everything. So, and it never stops. Like I could spend hours teaching very exact techniques on how to scan full arches and bites and the different bites. And, like if you're increasing the vertical dimension, if you're maintaining the gum, like what to do with this scanner, how to set it up, everything. And then literally by the next key event, it's all changed.
Yes.
So now I have to some people had the other technologies, I have to cover that, and I have to cover the new stuff. So it's never ending. And it's a lot of work to not just learn it, but and put it in practice and then teach it. It's so right. So if anything, hopefully it'll never go out of style because I can't keep repeating the same thing. So that's going for me.
I have faith in it. So let's talk about the reality of implementing digital. I know this is an old conversation, but I know that there's going to be people listening that are still maybe in that analog phase of life and haven't yet took the leap into digital. Can you talk about your personal experience in the beginning, now, how it's helped?
So it's funny you say that because I don't interact in social media on like I do on my own, but I don't interact on like these big accounts that post things and like like because it's full of trolls.
Yeah.
But there was this post, it's like I think it's a page it's like how things work or something like that, and it just talks about basic things. It shows a picture and then it's like how does it work? And then they showed a picture of like this like upper arch impression, like all full of like material and stuff. And it's like, like who knows what this is? And I couldn't help myself. I was like, I need to say like this is so old school. Like why bash us? Why continue to bash dentistry and show things that are so 1900s when this is not like where we're at right now, right? So like nothing, like I don't interact on things, but like nothing like really like gets me and drives me to do something when it's like we're being bashed, because it happens all the time. So like to keep that stigma or like that, like, making fun of how horrible dental experience is. So I commented that, and a bunch of comments is like, it's like, I have a modern dentist that I was like, this is not how modern dentist, like, it's not a modern practice or something like that. And people are like, I got this done and my dentist has a modern practice. I have a modern practice that I still do this. And in my head, I'm like, I never said it didn't work. I never said it didn't work. I said it's old school, which it is. It's almost like a dial-up phone. Like It works. It is old school, but it still works. So it's so back to your question about how it was. I need people to understand that I was trained and practiced for a really long time. So I graduated in 06 and then residency 07. And I did not have my first iTero or did DSD until 2017. So that's a good decade of full-on analog impression material frustrations.
Yes.
It's not that it doesn't work, but come on. I mean, it's just an awful patient experience. So how did it work? Well, that's how I was trained. And I was comprehensively trained because by the time that I took DSD, I was well within with my SPEAR curriculum, which is comprehensive, almost like a PROS, continuing education, like mini residency once you're done with everything, same as COIS. So to me, it was mind-boggling. Like, how do I start seeing things that way? So for a while, like to me, I jumped in because it was a way for me to do DSD. That's to me, that's what it was. It wasn't even to do dentistry because I wanted to do DSD. And DSD as in, like, I know that that's not what DSD is, but DSD as in I want to do the patient, like appointments 1 and 2 that way, that patient experience that way, communicating that way. And so that was my introduction to it. And of course, I was already doing Invisalign. So it was like, oh, and then like, I don't need to take impressions from Invisalign, which are awful too. And it takes so much time. And it's like, imagine someone is super excited. It's like, yes, I'm going to do Invisalign. And we're like, awesome. And then it's like, let me take 1 million impressions because absolutely like, what kind, like I'm about to get the most advanced alignment technology for my teeth. And you're still doing that. It just does not go together. So to me, that was the introduction to it, but it became so much more very quickly. And I think the real switch happened when I did the DSD residency 2 in Sao Paulo, because I saw how all of the very comprehensive, complex dentistry was being done, full digital workflows. Even if it was like, the scanning of full arches, and even if it was like planning for injectable composite, which was the first time that I saw it was there. And having those plans and having that predictability or guided, all on X, watching Francis, like, that was the first time that I literally did not leave his sight. I think he actually still have PTSD from me being so close to him at that point. I was like, really, like, that's when I was like, I can do all of this. And I'm trained to place implants just the regular way, but I'm trained to do that. And I can do all this with this predictability. So that's how it slowly became just from models, of the designs to then fully comprehensive. And then it jumped to, well, if I know how to place implants, but I don't know how to do a full arch, immediate loading, immediate placement and loading on the same day, but I can because of this, then it started empowering me to well, what else can I do? Because I have the skills, I just didn't have the know-how to do it in such a practical way.
Right.
So then that's how it evolved to the point where, and during that evolution, to people that are listening, it is scary. It's scary to to jump in something that is so abstract at the beginning. And I say abstract at the beginning because now I can't see anything when it's not in a digital model. Like I'll do an exam, yeah, whatever. Like I just need to see it.
Yes.
Scan. I need to like turn around the scan, look at the analysis, look at all the things there. So, but there was this period because I was already doing comprehensive. I was traditional analog, but I was doing comprehensive, not at the level that I'm doing it now, but there was definitely a hybrid point where I was like, okay, I'm jumping it, I'm doing it. But then I was like, I'm going to take an impression just in case.
Yes. Yes.
So I did that for a little while. And then to the point where I just like, it was working well. I just started trusting the technology, and it also evolved with me too, because it's now getting better and better, especially like now with all the advancement in terms of digital scanning that Lumina is bringing to the table, the new iTero. And, like the accuracy and the visuals, and then, how to even communicate then. Like, I mean, it's just fascinating how, talk about right place, right time, wanting to do something in a moment where like everything was exploding, So I do think there's a lot of me talking to you right now. It's right place, right time, and a lot of luck. JJ says that I'm very lucky that I'm always in like a spot where like I get to. He doesn't say it quite that way, but I can't say it in Canada.
No, I don't think.
Well, now, right now it's all digital. I don't use impression material at all.
Yeah. And I mean, do you see yourself ever going back for any situation?
I can. I mean, no. What? Like,
no.
Absolutely not. I'm telling you, I'm not joking. I am to the point where I cannot see things. I need to like look at the scan, evaluate everything through a scan. Like I'm done with the limitation of what I could see in the mouth, and I know that those limitations were there. So of course I still do a muscle. I did do a full exam. I do a muscle exam. I do like things like that. You checking the occlusion path, like the pathways and all of those things that can only be done in the mouth. But planning and performing the surgeries prior to performing the actual surgeries, like we know with the guided All on X and the click guide that DSD does. I almost can't picture myself doing it anymore without having done it already in a digital form. So it's that blueprint the construction you've already built before you've even touched.
Right. Who doesn't want to see before you go in, right? It's of course.
I wouldn't understand anyone that would. I don't think anybody in the history has ever gone back.
I would agree to that. I would agree.
Never go back. You like you have an iPhone, but now go back to dial-up. No.
Right. To the rotary.
Exactly, the rotary.
So I'm gonna change it up a little bit because I want to have time to talk about this one specific subject with you. You mentioned it already, and your appeal to DSD was, and I'm gonna put the words in your mouth, but I'm pretty confident in it. But you agree with me or disagree? The emotional dentistry part of DSD. I think out of everybody that's gone through DSD, you've been able to demonstrate your emotional presentations, your patient reactions to the mock-up presentation so beautifully that the first time I got to see you speak was at the Invisalign Summit. And I'm positive you remember that experience because that was the largest standing ovation I've ever seen in a dental presentation before. And I truly believe that it's because of how great you are at delivering these emotional presentations. So could you please share, your experience in that, what you believe makes it so great?
Wow. Yeah, you brought a core memory. That was very special. Thank you for being there. That's so cool that you were there. That is so cool. I now that you're saying it, sure, but I had not connected it before you just mentioned it now. Yeah, that was so surreal. I joke about my claim to fame is emotional dentist reviews, and people joke that I have like do you have onions and like when you present to make people cry, like people cutting onions in the back, and it's always like the standing joke. And I would love to say like, yes, I am like the best, or I am like I came up with so much, but I was mimicking what I learned. And I just gave my twist and personality to it. On my DSD residency, Eduardo de la Torre was the one presenting on emotional dentistry. And we became really good friends. He's a huge part of, he helped me so much when I was trying to implement, like, even my presentation to this day is very simple. Like, that you guys have a little, like, you have a template for the DSD presentation that you provide to DSD.
Right.
Mine is still from the original, very simple, and it was inspired by Eduardo's, presentation in a more simple way, because you have to put your personality in when you do that moment. I think it goes back to that authentic, truly being in the moment and caring about it. I think it comes back to that. I don't know, and the fact that I got it on video, because if not, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Actually, this is a moment to thank the patients for not only allowing me to take care of them, but to allow me to share those moments, which are very personal moments, to the world. So the world can see the amazing things that we can do. So I think it's being in the moment, understanding the significance of it too. I've done, my share of mock-ups at this point, and not every mock-up ends up in tears. It doesn't make it less powerful. It's just that, humans react, of course, strongly to, like, those moments. There's plenty of mock-ups where there's no reaction and it's still a yes. There's moments where there's tears and that's what they want, but they can't do it. So it's a no, It's not a no, it's a not yet. And I have so many cases where it was a not yet, and then we ended up doing it. Years go by and then you end up doing it, because that moment is so powerful. So truthfully, I don't have an answer to your question, other than I think, I still get nervous before I go in and present. I even before I jumped in this call, I'm like, just a little bit of, like, I'm about to do something. And I think, and I feel the same when I'm about to walk into a DSD presentation, when I'm about to do a big surgery or a big case. I think it's that respect for the moment, of the significance of that moment, of what's literally in your hands, or what responsibility you have. And even if you understood all that, but you didn't really care about the person, then it just won't translate. I think that it just comes down to, the magic comes down to you as a person and what your core values are and what you're in it for. If you're in it to close a $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 case because, that you just want the money, that's just, that connection is just not going to happen. Patients can see through that energy. Yes. There's nothing wrong with making the $20,000, $30,000, $50,000. You're working hard for it, and you're going to do a really damn good job. So there's nothing wrong. It's that value and more. But if your reasoning behind doing it is not in it for the right reasons, then the magic is just not going to be there.
Right. And I think that's a good point to make, because, being at DSD, I hear all the time is like, I want more case acceptance. And this is the general wish of every office out there. More case acceptance. Right? Of course. We all want it, right? We all want more yeses in life.
Yeah.
But it's important to realize that you already have everything already to get the yes. It's just the communication part, right? And I think that's the secret to the emotional presentation, is that it's not a way to get the yes. It's a way to help you say what you've already been saying, right? And demonstrate, visualize to the patient what is already there. So it's
elevating that conversation instead of like doing
right.
Yeah.
Right. And so to piggyback off what you're saying with the intention, that is exactly it. It's like, if your intention is, I need to help this person in front of me, I don't know how to tell them, I don't know how to show them, that's it right there, right?
Definitely. It's funny, and Kristen talks about this too, that it is a universal language, and I stand by it. And I've now officially lectured in Africa, Europe, South America, North America, soon Asia, in a few months. And it is a fully universal language, because even I try to not present too much on emotional dentistry when I'm doing webinars, but even like I'll still do like a little bit, not the big emotional piece, but like a little bit to showcase the power of it. And it could be like also webinars like worldwide. And there's the reaction to it. Like you can't help. It is a universal language of that moment, of not, it's both ways. It's like, wow, like what that patient experiencing is like, wow, this is what I can do with my hands. I can show it this way and I can have this moment, because even if I wasn't doing the case, even if they were all no's, I would still do it. If they were all no's, I promise you I would still do it, because the high and the energy and the that moment is just so, like, it feeds my soul so much. Yeah. So sometimes it could almost be like a selfish reason why you want to do that. But if it, like you said, I mean, everything you said, but Kristen talks about, like, even if you're Russian, or even if, like, and when people tell me I want to feel what you're feeling, the truth is that's impossible, right? Because you cannot translate.
Right.
But what I tell everyone is, like, you may not get the exact same reaction, but you will get a very high, you'll still get the high of the experience for yourself and for your patients. And if you're not an emotional being, don't expect to be tearing next to your patient, but the inside is still there. That. So this is such a good part of for this conversation. So at the last key event, you were there. We did a DSD mock-up on a patient. So doing mock-ups in front of an audience while you're teaching is tricky, because you want to focus on the patient, what my educator had and then my clinician had, and blah, blah, blah. So you were there, and he had a positive reaction, and he's like, wow, cool. Okay, yeah, I like it, And then I've since had many conversations with the live patient and, text messages and stuff. And it was such a, like you said, it was such an overwhelming feeling. I didn't know, I couldn't react to it. I haven't felt this high in years. I've never felt like an attractive, handsome person that eyes would be on me. But that day I felt handsome. Okay. That day I felt like this is the best version of myself. And it was not in the regular intimate setup, Right. So that's the power, the universal language of no matter what personality you have. It's definitely there. We're actually going forward with the case I'm doing that he's flying in.
Oh, amazing. And I think it's good to point out as well, like he was an Align employee, correct? So he knew of the DSD mock-up. It wasn't a complete surprise to him. So he knew what to expect. He didn't show really any emotion as you were talking to him. He was very, older gentleman, very closed in with his body language. So it was tough to read. Yeah. And the other thing is that the mock-up, I know you had some technical issues. We had some issues as well with the process. And so the mock-up wasn't even the best. And we still were able to get this reaction from it and this result. And so I think it's very powerful to understand that, things can go wrong along the way, but with your intention, with the power of that visual communication, you still have an upper hand in this field, right?
Yeah. It's in two ways. It's by having it, but even if you don't have it, by the way that it empowers you and to troubleshoot at the moment too. I was ready to trouble. I was like, I've never tested this. We had some technical difficulties. Let's see what happens. But then it's also what you make of the situation, right?
Right.
So which is literally what happened to me yesterday with the mock-up, the first mock-up ever, the first DSD mock-up ever that I didn't show. I'm like, if a good mock-up is incredibly powerful, a bad mock-up is incredibly powerful. So and then you just go back to your, to your regular way. You still use pictures. You still have to give an experience, right?
Right.
So it's what you make of it. And at the end of the day, that secret sauce is just your own X factor and how you manage those situations. Yeah. But with the live patient at the key event, it was so, and I feel like I've been doing it long enough to know better, but maybe I was so into I'm lecturing and the moment and the stress of did the mock-up work or not, that I didn't really I just told you, like, be in the moment, and I tried to be in the moment, but I was also in the moment. I'm teaching.
You have a lot of moments, right?
Yeah, I need to be in the moment, a lot of moments simultaneously.
Yes.
So it kind of caught me a little bit by surprise. I was not expecting this reaction from him, or maybe that he would be so open to sharing, because that's a lot of personal stuff,
Yes.
right? And even his girlfriend, I saw her in person, and she's like, Karla, like, he called me. I couldn't get him to stop. It was like as if he had won the lottery. Like, I mean, he left and he called her. So like what you see is not always what's really happening during these moments, but it's the power. It's the power of this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're getting near the end. I want to ask you, though, before we conclude this, what would you tell offices or doctors out there that are in similar situations, of trying to grow their business, of trying to get out of that traditional way and looking to you for answers? What is your message that you would like to share?
I'm always gonna empower people to just invest and bet on themselves, meaning invest on education, high-end education, invest in technology, even though it's scary. Invest in, like, that belief in yourself that that's what you're gonna do, and surround yourself with people that should, like, show you what's possible. I think that's huge. That whole betting on yourself. I mean, even throughout COVID, even throughout those things, I'm like double betting on me. Like, okay, so it's COVID, I'm starting Kois. It's COVID, I'm getting a new iTero. Like, when you're going with confidence and purpose, it's such a forgiving industry, truthfully. It's hard to go wrong, but when you're when you're trying to dip, but you're not quite full in, it's just not going to work. So all of this investment in yourself, and not only that, but investing in your team. So key takeaways, I guess. Bet on yourself, invest in yourself, invest in technology, invest in your team. And that's a tough one, because you invest in people, you get attached to people. And I've been lucky enough in my life, in my personal life, to not have true conflict, bad relationships, or even being heartbroken, like in my love life. I mean, I'm married to my soulmate. It's our 18-year anniversary in 1 week. And I haven't experienced heartbreak in a personal level, thankfully. I mean, things can happen, like something that happened health-wise, but I've experienced heartbreak as with my team, with soulmates that you think you're going to be together forever. And so that's a hard one to invest in your team. So it's this combination of, like, invest and believe fully in your team, understanding that life happens, and don't get jaded by things that could happen,
Yes.
Because the double standard is real, the things that are okay for things to be done to us versus what we can do. It's insane. And that's another podcast almost. But but I think that if you, like, find some key people with incredible attitude and invest in them, understanding that even if something does happen, don't, because in my profession, like, I someone that I loved dearly worked with us for a really, really long time, and then no longer. And then she told me she was coming back with me, and it didn't happen. And I think that was the first time that I experienced physical heartache, because I was so, like, invested in that relationship and what we could do together. So, and I was like, I'm never getting attached again. I'm not going to do that. And then, but you still have, like, you're hopeless romantic. So you still have, like, you treat people nice, kindly, try to be generous and fair. And then people will cross your life that you're like, okay, maybe I'm attached again, So almost like invest in your team, understanding that things can happen, and don't get jaded by situations. Just, like, I think that karma and good vibes go back and forth always in life. So invest in yourself, continue education and technology, and invest in your team, and life balance. Like, I absolutely adore dentistry, and I do work a lot, but I play hard. Like, I travel and have fun and have experiences. So having that balance that helps you justify your why and your craziness, I think those are all really good keys. I think good key takeaways.
Amazing. I mean, from the source, you can't deny it. So Thank you so much, Karla. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, and learn more because you have so much wisdom to share, what would be the best way?
So I mean, Instagram at Dr. Karla Soto is a super easy way. I do answer my messages. Key Elements community, of course, would love to have you. It's been such a beautiful, wonderful ride of seeing incredible success stories of people that are doing incredible things. So it's just like that community that helps empower everything that I've talked about throughout the whole conversation. So of course, Key Elements is the direct source to be part of the circle. But I mean, my email is carlasoto@gmail.com. Yeah, but Instagram is like the best way to, like, if it's a message or something like that, I'll answer them for sure.
Amazing. Well, thank you again for your time, and I hope we get to see each other very soon.
Hope so too. So
Yeah.
next Key Elements.
Next Key Elements for sure. But before that, even where a little fun fact: people more and more are starting to tell us that we look alike. We sound alike. We're basically related. So
we
have to. I was like, what a compliment. That was beautiful.
I'm happy about it.
So yeah, we definitely need to catch up. And I appreciate your time and sharing all your tips and your journey, your story, all of it. I know it's never ending, but you are such a blessing in the dental world. And, I know a lot of people are going to learn from you. So thank you.
Thank you. Love being here.
Thank you for joining me. Remember to subscribe to this podcast on your preferred channel so that you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes. Talk soon.